I was talking to someone today, and he said this conference isn't for the exhibitors anymore. It's for the private equity folks to find out how their investments are doing and, find new investments. What have you observed here?
Well, I certainly think it's a legitimate point that exhibitor was making, although there were a lot of exhibitors here, but that's sort of the fertilizer that's allowed this industry to grow in many respects. And it's a dichotomy that some people really regret. And I've spoken with some older brands here who are pretty much not playing the funding round game. And they're not as thrilled with the idea that these brands are constantly forced to pursue cash. On the other hand, this is a profitable industry. It's one that's really growing, and the cash is, for a lot of these companies, the fuel that they burn to get onto store shelves and into consumers' hands.
Well, talking about fuel, it seemed like a lot of these brands were gassing up with some investment over the past month, right before Expo. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's interesting because just as the money is sort of a necessary evil, the timing is starting to play a big role. When you're a small company, you don't have a big marketing budget, you don't have a big PR budget, and you know that if you announce an investment round or two, that's going to get you some buzz going into the show. And we saw a lot of it at all kinds of levels. One of them was at the seed capital level, where we saw some of the incubators really start to put in money. Excel Foods is writing a new fund, and that's allowed them to start doing some follow-on investments with brands they backed in the past, like Expo or Hicka Chips, Bandar Foods, and Element Snacks. I mean, they threw $9 million into the pool, spread out with these 4 companies, and it's not like they're not going to need to raise another round in the near future, but this is what allows these companies to really start to find their feet at retail.
Now, talking about raising another round, what about larger investments and when they need to go on to that next step?
Yeah, well, and at that point, there are a lot of funds that are trying to play in that, $5 to $10 million level. They're picking up brands that they really believe are on the verge of something big. They're helping them professionalize with staff and get a devoted marketing budget. Also, maybe spend behind some sales and marketing talent. They're considering their next investment. They might be checking in on their investment, but they're also helping, they would say that they're helping to provide the capital that allows these companies to grow.
So what was the biggest deal that was announced right before Expo West?
So right before the show, we did a story on Q Drinks, which is a bar mixer brand, and they had picked up $11 million in funding. Again, not a retire forever amount, but enough that allows them to kind of grow to the next level. They certainly, again, received a lot of attention for it at the show, and things were pretty crazy over at their booth.
And Jeff, what about the strategics?
So it's interesting. There was a lot of discussion of the role of the strategic, the big company acquirer in the industry, and that kind of brings it back to what you were saying at the start, that a lot of this show seems to turn into a sort of hunting ground for investors in larger companies. And while there's some back and forth on the overall value of independence versus establishing oneself, what we saw is that there seems to be a softening of the view towards these companies. As we talked about earlier, there was a panel where the strategics really wanted to present themselves as a kind of company that can further the aims of these entrepreneurs, be it through organics, through sustainable sourcing, and also they're they know that there's a certain sense of desperation in the air, and that the food offerings the consumers want are really changing.
Well, Jeff, sounds like an exciting time. Thanks so much for monitoring those investments. And thank you for watching. We hope you join us at Project NOSH Brooklyn on June 8th.